¿Qué pasa YouTube? 6fthax here, have for you guys today an Uber's Wi-Fi battle against my boy ToysOfWar. Of course, if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to hammer that like button down below to answer the question of the day. Now, I was hoping to have something a little bit special for you guys on this upload, but that's most likely going to have to wait until tomorrow, but it's definitely something that I know you guys are going to like for future Wi-Fi battles, so just be on the lookout for that. Now, if you couldn't tell from the team preview, we are both running very offensively based Ubers teams. So he's going to be leading off with his Rayquaza, as I'm going to be leading off with my Excadrill. Now, normally I will be scared of a Rayquaza. Luckily though, this actually isn't Mega Rayquaza, which for those of you who don't know, Mega Rayquaza was so good in the Ubers tier that it actually got banned, which is why it's not allowed in Ubers right now in 7th Gen or late Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And if you really think about it, it's crazy to think that a Pokemon is too good for Ubers when that's where all the really good Pokemon go to. So I'm gonna be able to live the Fire Blast and get up my Stealth Rocks, as he's going to knock me out with a combination of Fire Blast and Air Slash. And speaking of Pokemon potentially too good for Ubers, Primal Groudon right now is almost in the same boat as Mega Rayquaza was in ORAS, where it's probably too good for the Ubers tier, and it's easily the best Ubers right now and the #1 used Ubers, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure I can live any one hit coming from this Rayquaza. As he pulls out the Draco Meteor, I am luckily going to be able to just barely live on the smidgen of HP, and in return I'm going to be able to connect with my Stone Edge and knock out this Rayquaza. This Rayquaza was a huge issue. What I probably should have done was brought in my Tapu Lele, but I was a little worried that maybe he had the Dragon Ascend, which is actually a flying type move and not a dragon type move, which is why I brought in my Groudon here, but I wasn't expecting him to pull out the Draco Meteor. So my best answer to this potential Scarf Genesect has now been taken out. Luckily though, as you're gonna see, he actually has the Life Orb. Now, during the actual match itself, I didn't realize that he had Life Orb because I didn't see him take the little damage, so that kind of plays a role later in the match. As funny enough, he ends up bringing in what is a regular Groudon and not Primal Groudon. Now, don't worry guys, it actually does not even matter that he isn't Primal Groudon, although it would have been cooler if he was and would have made more sense. It's just, it's literally not game changing because Groudon and Primal Groudon have the same base def and HP, which is why I bring in my Yveltal here, knowing that I can easily 2 KO him. I did not expect him to go for the Thunder Wave. I thought that he most likely was going to either go for a Stone Edge or go for the Stealth Rocks. And in hindsight, this was a really bad play on my part because I do have the taunt on Yveltal, so not only could I have prevented him from getting up rocks potentially, but I could have stopped him from going for the Thunder Wave on my Yveltal, which kind of comes to bite me back in a couple turns. So I'm gonna go for the Oblivion Wing, expecting him to just want to sack off his Groudon, but he ends up switching directly into a Scizor, and if I had gone for the Dark Pulse there, I easily would have been able to knock out the Scizor because of Yveltal's ability. It boosts the damage output of dark moves, so definitely would have knocked him out, judging for how much damage the Oblivion Wing did. As he's gonna end up going for the Roost here, that is fine. As long as he doesn't have Defog, we are a-okay, because having rocks up on the field is gonna be really good for me, but I get fully paralyzed on the turn that I tried to Dark Pulse, and then of course he has the Defog, but it gets better because I end up getting paralyzed again. And like I said, I could have prevented this by just going for the taunt against the Groudon, but no, I decided to be aggressive and go for the Dark Pulse, as he's going to go for another Roost here. I do end up paying him back a little bit here for those double paralysis, as I will be able to crit him, although it would have been really nice to have Stealth Rock still up on his side of the field. It's not entirely game changing that he got rid of them, but getting that little bit of chip damage on Genesect, Palkia, and Mewtwo would have been really good for me in this game. As he decides to go for a U-turn, potentially not wanting to risk another crit, or maybe thinking that he couldn't live a Dark Pulse or Oblivion Wing, I am going to just go for the Oblivion Wing again, so I can gain back some recovery if he did want to go for the Roost. As he's going to sack off the Groudon, like you see there guys, I would have easily been able to 2 KO Primal Groudon if it was a regular Groudon. But there's literally absolutely zero reason to use regular Groudon instead of Primal Groudon, just because of how amazingly good Primal Groudon is in Ubers right now. So as I knock out the Groudon, he's going to bring in his Mewtwo, and I don't want to potentially risk him setting up on me, so I decided just to stay in and go for the Dark Pulse, as he's going to be able to cleanly knock me out with the Ice Beam. What this allows me to do is now get a free switch into Alexa Bliss, my Pheromosa, which is Adamant Life Orb. So I'll definitely outspeed his Mewtwo here and get off a good amount of damage on whatever he decides to bring in. As he brings in the Scizor, I pay him back for that second paralysis, and I'm gonna get a crit. But this crit honestly does not matter at all, because even if he had lived, I still would have U-turned into my Tapu Lele regardless. So I would have been able to outspeed him, and because in Psychic Terrain you can't use priority moves, he wouldn't have been able to Bullet Punch, so I still would have outsped and knocked him out with the Psychic. So yeah, that crit honestly did not matter at all and wasn't game changing in the slightest. As he ends up bringing in the Mewtwo here, my best bet right now is to just get off as much damage as I can on this Mewtwo, as the animation for PSYSTRIKE looks absolutely amazing. I really like that a signature move has an awesome animation, because I saw some other animations for signature moves and just I don't really like them because they look too simple, but PSYSTRIKE looks absolutely amazing. And then here I'm gonna go for the Shattered Psyche. I am modest max special attack in Psychic Terrain, going for a Z move against a Mewtwo. So I was really hoping that I would have been able to knock him out, but he's able to just barely survive on about 10% HP. And this is where me getting paralyzed against that Scizor kind of matters, because if I had Stealth Rocks up, I would have been able to knock him out instead of this being a double down. And the benefit of that is that I would have been able to see what he wanted to bring in against my Tapu Lele, instead of this just being a blind play on my part. Now, because I still think that the Genesect is Scarfed, I bring in my Alexa Bliss in hopes that he gets the special attack boost and that maybe I can live an Iron Head, as I'm able to outspeed this Palkia. Much to my surprise, I straight OHKO him. Now, even though I am Adamant max attack with Life Orb, the roll to knock out Palkia was about 87%, so even though it was in my favor, that still caught me off guard, just because of Palkia having pretty good bulk. And this is where I thought that I had lost the match if I didn't outspeed this Genesect and live an Iron Head, which I don't live Iron Head, but luckily he was Life Orb and not Scarf, and he drops to this high jump kick, and that is going to be the 2-0 victory in my favor. I didn't even get to use my Deoxys in this match. Either way though, this was still a very fun battle. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and if you did, hammer that like button down below, answer the question of the day, which is on your screen. And if you may have missed my season 4 week 1 match of the TBU, which is a draft league, a link to that is going to be at the end of this video on the end screen, so definitely check that out, guys, if you would like to. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow with something awesome for future Wi-Fi battles. So with that being said, guys, later everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion, but when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.